Five, four, three, two, one.
Okay, hello, willkommen, bienvenue, konnichiwa. It's time for the Armis Inquisition yet again. Episode 184 on Monday, the 17th of May. Yes. Officer, if you're listening. I'm Amish Phil.
I'm Amish Ben.
And I'm Amish Matt.
And tonight's guest is astrotheologist and author Micah Dank. How are you doing, Micah?
How are you?
Super. We love us a bit of astrotheology.
Yeah.
And a bit of theology and ancient history and all this sort of stuff. So I think it's going to be fun.
Yep, looking forward to it.
You've written a few books, haven't you? You've got 4 books out at the minute?
I've got 4 out. The 5th one comes out a month from yesterday. And the 6th one comes out September 15th.
Wow. And these are fictional, correct?
It's truth and fiction. Yes.
Yeah.
I've written a lot of the stuff that I'm going to share with you guys in a fictional environment so that it's easier to learn.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not saying it's all make-believe, but you're using fiction or novels to transmit this stuff that you've been researching for years now. Sorry?
No, exactly. Absolutely.
Cool. We've got a really cool looking slide up on the screen. I don't know. I mean, is there anything you want to sort of tell us to set the stall out before we dive in with what you've got on this? What is it, a PDF or something?
It's a PowerPoint. No, we could just jump right in, to be honest.
I should probably say, anyone who's listening, it'd be a good chance to nip over to the YouTube channel of the Odyssey because we're going to be looking at all these slides. So, good idea to sign up now. But yeah, we're in your hands, Micah. Take it away.
All right, sounds good. So if I'm going to ask you guys, I'll start with a question. What do you consider to be the oldest, let's say, writings on Earth?
Ooh. Cave things in caves.
Yep, there you go. Cave.
Plural, isn't it? Right.
Yep. Some people would say like hieroglyphs. Some people would say like the Sumerian text. Some people say caves, and that's correct because the Lascaux caves, were 40,000 years old. And what these were these caves that they found in France. Okay, in Lascaux, France, they went into these caves. They went deep into them, and they found things like this on them. You see the bull at the top, you see the lions, the many faces of the lions on the right, and you see the horse on the bottom. Now, in astrology, you know that the bull is Taurus, the lion is Leo, and the horse is Sagittarius, the man with the bow and the arrow on the horse. What they did was they carbon dated this wall, and they found that it was about 40,000 years, plus or minus 5,000 years. And then what they did was they brought in an astronomer with the computer because we have the computer technology to do this now. And what they did was they rewound the sky back 40,000 years and they printed out the constellations for what they looked like. And what they did was they superimposed it on this, and it just so happened that the pictures of the bull was exactly where Taurus was. On the wall where the lion was, Leo was. And this is 40,000 years. So they've known about the zodiac for 40,000 years. The zodiac plays a huge role in the Bible and in other things as well, too. It's the most important science that's out there. You have questions in the Bible, how Jesus was able to heal the blind, how he walked on water, how he turned water into wine, why he had 12 disciples, why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, why he was dead for 3 days, why his birthday is on December 25th. All that could be answered with astrology, and we're going to answer that. Okay?
Cool.
So you have Genesis 1:14 that says, "Let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and the years." What the Bible is it's an encoded astrology book that basically allows you to, when you can understand how to decode it and you can start to read it properly, it's encoded a bunch of astrological information in there. And the reason behind it is because when the Bible came out 5,000 years ago, that we take for granted, like the calendar, the clocks. We take for granted all of that. That we know when to plant, that we know when to harvest, that we know when winter's coming. All these things they didn't know, so they had to look at the stars. You know, they basically had the sun, which tells you what time of day it is, and then you have the moon, which tells you what day of the month it is. And then you have the stars, the constellations, the zodiac, which tells you which month it is. Okay, so that's what the Bible is. It's basically a farmer's almanac, and we're going to get into that. But first,
He's onto the phone.
but first, I have to go over the 12 signs with you. Are you guys familiar with the zodiac at all?
Yeah,
A little bit.
Yeah.
yeah. We've had
good.
a few. We've had a few. Well, we've had Dave Matheson, haven't we, on astrotheology, and Gary Kidgel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's not. This isn't completely unfamiliar to us.
It's not
Okay, well, there's going to be some new stuff, definitely, because a lot of this is my own work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so basically, you have Aquarius. The first sign is Aquarius, which is represented by the man with the water pitcher. Okay, so whenever you hear the Son of Man, or they reference the Son of Man, or let's say fountain, for example, or water pitcher, or baptism, they're talking about Aquarius, and I'll show you how that comes off. Pisces is the sign of the two fish in the water. So when you're talking about water-based activities, like being in a lake or something of that nature, they're talking about Pisces or Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is an air sign. It's not a water sign. Pisces is actually a water sign. However, because there is a pitcher of water in Aquarius, it can also be used to talk about water. Then Aries is the ram. And in Aries, you have March 21st, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day, 12-hour night. It's also the Passover. So the Jewish people celebrate the Passover, which is when God passes over Egypt with the 10th plague and kills all the firstborn children. However, the Passover in astrotheology is literally when the sun passes over, the day the sun passes over the equator and starts its trip back up to the summer solstice. That's when the days get longer. That's when things start to blossom. That's when, it's good times, basically. In Christianity, the Passover is changed and called the resurrection of God's Son. So it's two separate words, two separate phrases, but they mean the same thing. Aries, the Jewish people are the people of Aries, which is why they smear the lamb's blood on the door in order to protect them. It's also why they rams in the sky. Okay.
Yeah, go on.
Now Taurus is the bull, and basically it's as above. I'm sorry.
So you just broke up a tiny bit there. It's back now. It's okay.
Excuse me. So Taurus is the bull. And when you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season, you look up to the sky, you see the bull. You have to put the plow on the bull on earth in order to plant, because Taurus is when you plant everything.
Right.
Okay, so whenever they're talking about a bull or a calf or a cow, they're talking about Taurus. Okay. Then Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. Cancer is the crab, and it's the sideways moving creature. So what the sun does is, starting on December 25th, it rises a degree on its axis every single day. And every day it rises a degree higher and higher. On June 21st, it's at its peak. That's the summer solstice. So what happens is, for 3 consecutive days after that, it stays at that height. Then on June 25th, it drops a degree. And then it continues to drop a degree every single day until it hits December 21st. Which is the lowest day, which is the winter solstice. It's the longest night of the year. It's the shortest day. The ancients used to say that God's son was dead. That's the day that the sun dies. And then like in June for 3 days, just like in December for 3 days. So they would say God's son was dead for 3 days. And then basically on December 25th, it comes back to life. So Leo is the king. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle. And the ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So when they're talking about the kingdom of heaven on earth or something to that effect, it's a metaphor for the sun being in Leo, because the sun actually rules Leo. Okay?
No.
Then Virgo is the woman holding the wheat stalk. And remember before we said you plant in Taurus? Well, basically the virgins would cultivate the wheat in Virgo. That's why it's a virgin holding a wheat stalk, because the young ladies would go out and they would pick all the wheat in order to make bread for the year. Then Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. And the reason it's justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. The Jewish people always celebrate their new year around the fall equinox. So you're going to have words like judgment, judging, the judge, to be judged, if you've been judged, things of that nature. They're talking about Libra when they're talking about judgment. When they talk about like the tax or divorce, things that have to do with law and justice, okay? Libra is also wine season and olive season. So when they talk about a grapevine, or when they talk about grapes, so they're talking about the vineyard, the parable of the vineyard, they're talking about Libra. So in Virgo, you have the bread, and in Libra, you have the wine. That's the bread and the wine. And then Scorpio is the scorpion. He is known as the betrayer. And the reason he's the betrayer is because when a scorpion bites you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like a pair of lips. Okay, it's where the mafia get his death from. Okay, and it's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with the kiss. You know, he didn't point him out in the crowd. He didn't stone him. He went up to him and gave him a kiss because he's metaphorically Scorpio and Jesus is the sun. So the sun is judged in Libra and betrayed in Scorpio. And then finally in Sagittarius, this is where the bow and the arrow shoot the sun and inflict further punishment on the sun. And we went over December 21st being the day of death. So the day of death is in Sagittarius. So when they're talking about death, they're referring to this particular day, December 21st. So it's a metaphor. And then Capricorn, because the zodiac wheel, Capricorn's at the bottom, and the sun starts its climb in Capricorn, basically climbing up the metaphorical mountain. And the goats climb the mountain better than anyone else. So that's why that symbol is a goat. And those are basically the 12 signs. Do you guys, is any of that new to you guys? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, a lot of it's new. I hadn't twigged the that last one actually, the goat. And is this, I guess, when they talk about the scapegoat in Jewish theology, is that related to Capricorn then?
Check this out. Names for Jesus. Jesus is the sun, remember? So when the sun's in Capricorn, the goat, he's called the scapegoat of Israel. Right. When the sun is in Aquarius, he's known as the son of man. When the sun is in Pisces, he's known as the fisherman of men. Pisces, the two fish. It's also why he feeds the masses with two fish. He's the Lamb of God when the sun is in Aries. He's the Lion of Judah when the sun is in Leo. The lady holding the stalk of wheat, Virgo, he's born of a virgin and he's called the bread of life. Libra is the scales of justice. He's known as the just one. Then he's betrayed in Scorpio, dies in Sagittarius on December 21st, and it's also why he's worshipped on the sun day. So these are all names for Jesus that they call him in church openly, not knowing where it comes from. Okay, now look at this picture of white Jesus on the left, okay? All right. So
you're telling me that's not what it looked like?
No, this is a stereotypical picture of what Jesus looks like, okay? There's anomalies. Now, the sun is always behind Jesus. Anytime you Google pictures of Jesus, the sun will always be behind his head. And that's because he represents the sun. He'll always have the two fingers up like this. The two fingers up like this are an ancient Kemetic peace sign. It's an ancient Egyptian peace sign. This right here is a British victory war sign. Okay, so whenever anyone gives you this, it's a war sign. This is the actual peace sign, togetherness. Okay, this is separation. The white Jesus picture is actually a guy named Cesare Borgia, who's the bastard son of Pope Alexander VI. See, this Pope lived in the 1500s. That's right around the time the printing press came out. He just decreed that his son would be the face of. And yes, popes used to have kids before. Not all of them were took their oath seriously, so to speak. They would never get married, but they would definitely have children. And before then, there was no picture of him, and it was decided his picture would be the face of. If you guys wanted to pull up a picture of Cesare Borgia, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's the same face. Then basically you have the crown of thorns around the heart, outside the body. The heart is always outside the body, so is the crown of thorns. Jesus had the crown of thorns around his head. Here it's around the heart. The crown of thorns wrapped around the heart represents the rays of the sun. So that's what it is. So Jesus is the sun, and the thorns are the sun's rays as they shoot out. The heart outside the body represents the human toroidal field. Okay, it's basically, you call it, some people call it an aura. It's a 6-foot thing that electromagnetically comes out of your body, and it's the toroidal field. Okay, basically, you guys are sitting right next to each other, so your toroidal fields are actually interacting with one another. But you ever just know when somebody's coming up behind you?
Yeah, I wondered what that smell was. Sorry. It's this Matt's toroidal field. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just break up a bit.
You ever just notice when some have no clue?
Mm-hmm.
It's because they broke your toroidal field. That's what they basically do. That's why the elites are trying to keep everyone 6 feet apart, is because the toroidal field is 6 feet.
So is this like an electromagnetic thing?
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. It's a toroidal field. Have you ever seen it? It almost looks like an apple.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not. I've never heard that before. The toroidal field.
It's an interesting thing.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the electromagnetic field around the Earth, and that looks like a bit like an apple, doesn't it? Comes out.
Yeah, it
the
goes in. The two bits meet, don't they? Like
It's like an apple.
Yeah.
Which all goes into sacred geometry, which we're not going to do right now, though. But
next time.
So, are you guys familiar with any biblical verses?
No, not a lot. Bits and bobs. I mean, we all went to Catholic school, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it's not like strict Catholic school over here.
Have you ever heard of the phrase "pride comes before the fall"?
Yeah.
All right. One of you guys, can you explain it to your listeners what it's supposed to mean?
So, no.
It's to do with the ego, isn't it?
Yeah. Just summarize it real quick. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Well, it's just that if you're really egotistical, and that's what pride is sort of based on, it's leading up to you building an expectation that you're going to fall at some point. Pride.
Right. That's what it is. However, you know what a group of lions is called?
Pride.
Flock. Yeah. Yeah, pride.
Right.
Yeah.
So pride is lion. Lion is Leo. Leo's in July and August. That comes before the fall.
Ah, right. Right. Sorry, when's Leo? July?
Yeah, Leo is in July and August.
Right, and then fall. Right, got you.
Okay. So it's real simple. This stuff is easy. Micah 5:2. But you, Bethlehem Ephratah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from ancient times.
Yeah, that's one of my
However,
favorites.
in Hebrew, so basically they're saying that the Savior is going to come from Bethlehem. In Hebrew, Bethlehem is a combination of two words. It's bet, which means house, and lechem, which means bread. Okay, so it's the house of bread. Each zodiac sign is called a house. So it's the house of Aquarius, the house of Aries, the house of Pisces. So the house of bread is Virgo, the virgin with the wheat stalk. So what this is really saying is the Savior will come from the house of bread. The Savior will come from a virgin.
Right, yeah.
Not Bethlehem, the town, but it'll come from a virgin. It's a metaphor. So I gave you guys basically the breakdown of what words to look for, okay? And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you one that you could basically just count on your own to see how many signs. I'll emphasize them, of course, but just basically count how many signs. This is Deuteronomy 32. He gave them honey from the cliffs and olive oil from the rocky ground. He gave his people butter from the herd and milk from the flock. He gave them lambs and goats. They had the best rams from Bashan and the finest wheat. They drank the best wine made from the juice of red grapes, but Jeshurun became fat and kicked like a bull. So you see how many metaphors for the zodiac signs are just in that one passage?
Yeah, it's loads.
Yep. And there's two that you don't even recognize because I didn't go over them yet. He gave them honey from the cliffs. Okay. In the sign Cancer, there's a group of stars called the Beehive Cluster. It's known as an asterism. So it's the Beehive Cluster. So that's where the honey comes from. And then you have the herd. He gave his people butter from the herd and milk from the flock. Those are both milk based. That comes from the Milky Way galaxy. Okay. Whose center is in Sagittarius. So your land from Cancer to Sagittarius, that's your land of milk and honey. It's not on Earth. It's a metaphor for the celestial heavens.
Wow, the land of milk and honey, and honey being Cancer.
Yeah, the beehive cluster in Cancer.
Wow.
Olive oil being in Libra.
Yeah.
Lambs is Aries. Goats is Capricorn. Rams is Aries. Wheat is Virgo.
Yeah.
Wine is Libra. The bull is Taurus. So this is how they encode things. This is astrotheology. This is how it's encoded in there. You want me to keep going?
Absolutely.
Mount of Olives. So Jesus led his disciples to the Mount of Olives after his last Passover so that he could teach them a few more things, pray, then wait for Judas to betray him. While walking to the Mount of Olives, he gave the parable of the true vine. Now, this is how you start to decode this, okay? It's important to know that if you imagine the zodiac wheel and we're talking about a specific sign, the next passage in the Bible, okay, after the sign has been decoded, is either going to be your next sign or your previous sign or its cross sign. So when you're using the zodiac to basically know all the key words in it, and you're like, all right, that's Aries. Then it's going to, I'll show you, Passover takes place in Aries, okay? Where right after that, he walks to the Mount of Olives. Well, olives are in Libra. So that just crosses over the zodiac wheel. Aries and Libra are opposing signs, okay? They're in Libra. They're waiting for Judas to betray him. Well, the betrayer is Scorpio, which is the next sign over from Libra, okay? And in Libra, because he was still in Libra, he gave the parable of the true vine or vineyard or wine press. That's once again Libra. So this is just an example. As I'm going to go into the book of Matthew, and I'm going to show you how the whole thing is just astrology. Literally, the whole thing is just astrology. And this is what you need to know. You need to know you got a crossover and go around, and then you're going to like this, and then maybe like this, and then you're going to jump across. It's never going to go from one random sign to another, okay?
Right, yeah.
Have I lost you guys yet?
Nope.
Okay, good. Revelation 4:7. There's people that take this stuff literally.
Take it literally.
That believe the second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle. The first living creature was like a lion, that's Leo. The second was like an ox, that's Taurus. The third had a face like a man, that's Aquarius. The fourth was a flying eagle. So in astrology, the Scorpio is the belly crawling creature, much like God commanded the snake to crawl on its belly after Eve was deceived. It's the lowest form of life on earth. However, the Scorpio's evolved form in astrology is the eagle, okay? And the eagle's evolved form is the phoenix. So the eagle is actually Scorpio. So Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio are the four fixed signs of the zodiac. If you take the zodiac wheel and you connect the solstices and the equinox, they form a perfect cross through the zodiac wheel. That's the cross.
Oh, is he still there? Maker's broken up. He's lost him. He's just talking about
Eagles.
the beast of the Revelation. I think he's gone. He's totally frozen. Is there any way to fix it from our end, do you think?
I don't.
Yeah, no.
I think maybe he needs to turn his camera off or log out and log back in again.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll either kick him out or he'll come back.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Eagle being Scorpio.
It's a bit like Pokemon, all this evolving.
Well, you know what else it is? Those four signs.
What?
The Sphinx.
Oh.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's gone.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Well,
four.
we'll have to make up our own mind.
Yeah, the Sphinx is a composite creature, isn't it? Body of a lion, head of a man, wings of an eagle.
It's got wings on it.
Yeah, the Sphinx. I mean, not
They eroded in all that rain.
they're not the Egyptian Sphinx, but the like the. Oh no, that's cherubims, weren't it, on the Ark of the Covenant? Yes, in mythology and stuff, sphinxes have wings. They're a composite of the four opposing signs. He's back. Micah's back.
Yeah.
Can you hear
Back,
me?
I disappeared. I'm back though. I don't know how often this is going to happen. I apologize, guys. I'm using a hotspot.
That's not good.
Did okay, so where was I? Did I read this one to you yet? Revelation 12?
No, we
Nope.
had
No.
we were up to eagles, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its head. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. A woman clothed with the sun is the sun in Virgo. Virgo is the woman. And if the sun is clothed with the sun is magically in Virgo, okay? Now, if the sun is in Virgo, the moon will be at her feet. And that's because the zodiac has 12 signs. The sun spends 2 hours in each sign. That gives you the 24-hour day clock. So Virgo is around 4 p.m. So that's still daytime, okay? So if the sun is out during the day, then the moon would be down. And if the moon is up, then the sun would be down. Make sense?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous dragon. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. The constellation Draco to my left is the dragon. Draco is the dragon. Its tail goes from Aries to Sagittarius, which is 4/12 or 1/3 of the stars out of the sky. So these are all just metaphors.
Yeah.
There's no woman in the sky with a dragon that's going to attack her. These are just star metaphors.
It said before on, I think it was on the previous slide about the 7. There was 7 there. I was just wondering if that was maybe the Pleiades or something.
They mentioned the 7 stars. They mentioned the 7 stars, which are the Pleiades, the 7 sisters, as they're known.
Oh.
I don't get into too much numerology. If they have numbers, I kind of ignore it because it's too interpretive. People will be like, it means this, no, it means this. No, this is pretty clear when you read it a certain way that it's meant to be read a certain way. But I don't get into the numbers in numerology.
No, fair enough.
You familiar with the book of Job?
A little bit.
So do you want to explain to your listeners, I guess, who Job was and what his deal was, basically?
He was the pious guy, wasn't he? And didn't
Yes.
Satan have a bet with God that if you punish him, basically, that he'll fail and he'll give up his faith in God. So he was tested in that way.
Right. So what I'm going to read to you is God's response to him, and I'm going to show you how it's just encoded astrology, okay?
Right.
Job 38:32. The first thing God says, remember, these are supposed to be God's actual words. God says, can you lead forth the Mazzaroth? The Mazzaroth literally means the zodiac. So right away he's asking him, do you know your zodiac? Over time, the word Mazzaroth becomes Mazalot, which survives in Judaism today as Mazel Tov, which literally means good fortune from the stars. And you know how old that word is. You know? So the Lord's challenge to Job, his first 2 are, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Those are obvious. Those are metaphors for the stars, you know? Then he goes, can you bring forth the constellation in their seasons or lead out the bear with its cubs? The constellations are the zodiac above. The bear and its cubs are Ursa Major, the Great Bear, and Ursa Minor, part of the Big Dipper. Who can tip over the water jars of heavens? That's clearly Aquarius. Do you hunt the prey for the lioness and satisfy the hunger for the lions? That's Leo. Who provides food for the raven? That's the constellation Corvus, which means raven and borders on Virgo. Do you watch when the doe bears her fawn? That's Marigo, which means deer and is located in Orion. Who let the wild donkey go free? That's Stellus Borealis, which means donkey and is located in Cancer. Will the wild ox consent to serve you? That's Taurus. You see where this is going, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
a metaphor, isn't it?
These are all just star metaphors. The wings of the ostrich flap joyfully. That's Lambda Achille or Alpha Liman, which means 2 ostriches in Arabic. Do you give at fear, afraid of nothing, along with the flashing spear and lance? That's Sagittarius with the bow and the arrow. Does the eagle soar at your command and build its nest on high? That's Aquila, which is the Latin name for eagle and is a constellation a few degrees above the celestial equator. Finally, he says, can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook? Leviathan was the fish god. So that's the fish Pisces. So that's God's entire challenge back to Job. It's just star metaphors. It's not meant to be taken literally.
Wow.
What do you guys think so far? I'll take a quick break. What do you guys think?
There's a lot of metaphors in there.
It's a lot to take in, isn't there? Because you've given so many different examples. But I guess it's a big book, so there are going to be a lot of examples you can find. I mean, I wonder, is this something that's been transmitted orally and then recorded in this book, or did the people who were writing this do it consciously sort of recording these metaphors?
I wasn't there. There's so many writers of the Bible, but they basically all knew this. What they did was they had to hide this secret information in the Bible. Because what do you do with the sacred information, the most holy information? This tells you how to stay alive. Because if you don't know your calendar, you don't know the zodiac wheel, you don't know when to plant, you're going to starve later. You don't know winter's going to come. You don't know when the sun's going to go down. A million things can kill you. Winter is cold, it'll kill you. You know, they basically hid all this stuff in the Bible. And because it was basically encoded. This was the secret information. And in the year 325 AD, Constantine united everybody under literal Christianity. But before that, Christians were known as Helio-Gnostics. That was the name for them. And Helios in Greek means sun. And Gnosis is to know, the sun knowers. They were sun worshippers, which is all this is. This is all the Bible is.
It suggests
I'm going to show you more examples. I'm sorry?
It sort of does it suggest that maybe the early priesthoods were keeping this knowledge to themselves?
Yes, absolutely. This was encoded. It was hidden.
Well, and I mean, most people couldn't even read, you know, when these books were written. So that's another sort of gatekeeping thing that's at play. Well,
absolutely. So we have these questions from earlier.
Oh yeah.
You guys remember? Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just a bit quiet. I think it's when you sit back. I may be a bit far away from Mike. When you sit back, it seemed to break a little bit. I don't know.
It says, how is Jesus able to heal the blind? If he's the Son of God, S-O-N, the story is a man came to him and Jesus touched him on the eyes and he was able to see. But if he's the Son, S-U-N, when it's dark, the sun is down, but when it comes up and touches your eyes, suddenly you can see again. No?
Yeah.
Okay. How he walked on water. You ever see a sunset on a lake before?
Right.
It's the same thing. How he turned water into wine. So the reason that God is a man, or God is always referred to as a he, and earth is always Mother Earth referred to as a she, is because of God's sacred fluid. It's his rain. In Hebrew, the word is shemen. We get the word semen from it in modern day English. It's his sacred fluid. His sacred fluid impregnates Mother Earth, and from her belly all things grow. Okay? So it starts, so the bull comes out, right? And then you have to put the plow in the bull. That's when you plant, and that's April showers bring May flowers. That's Taurus season. And then what happens is it rains and it rains and it rains and it rains. And then eventually what happens is it continues to rain throughout the year. And then you pull the grapes in September. And that's how you, and then you smash them and then you get the wine. That's how you turn God's water into wine.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of John Marco Allegro's stuff, isn't it? From 70 odd years ago about the semen coming down. It seems to be a common theme from sort of pre-Abrahamic pagan stuff, doesn't it? This analogy. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Why he had 12 disciples, each disciple is one of the zodiac signs. Why he was betrayed with a kiss by Judas, we went over that. Why he was dead for 3 days, we went over that. Why is his birthday on December 25th? We went over that too. Yeah. So it's not just there. What I can do for you guys now, if you would like, is I could show you, because I've given you random passages, and I've given you a longer passage in the book of Job. But I can go through the entire book of Matthew with you right now and show you how it's all astrology and how it works, if you guys are interested.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Because this is the last part of the presentation.
Cool.
Okay, so the book of Matthew. Now you'll notice that I put zodiac pictures on the left. Okay, And I kind of highlighted the area to look.
Mhm.
So Matthew 3:2, repent of your sins and turn to God, for the kingdom of heaven is near. Well, I mentioned that the kingdom of heaven is in Leo because the sun rules Leo. Okay. So I have to mention that each one of these gospels starts at a crucial point in the zodiac wheel, at a solstice or an equinox. Okay, and the closest one to Leo is June 21st in Cancer, the summer solstice. So that's where this one starts. Then this is the firmament. You've heard of the word firmament before, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Firmament has nothing to do with being a dome and coasting a flat earth or any of that kind of shit. The firmament is literally the dividing between the zodiac signs. You can see these lines right here.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay, that's what the firmament is. In the Bible, it says the firmament shows God's handiwork. And what you'll notice too is when I have the line in between these two, so it's at the firmament, if the zodiac, if we're talking about something and it's in between two signs, it could be used to talk about either sign. So it's Cancer, I could talk about honey, or Leo, I could talk about lions, cubs, lionesses, things of that nature. Okay, if it's just in Leo, then it only talks about Leo. Okay, so now that we have that done, the next passage is Matthew 3:4. John's clothes were woven from coarse camel hair, and he wore a leather belt around his waist. For food, he ate locusts and wild honey. So I'm going to take a picture of a man and superimpose it onto the zodiac wheel. I'm going to take Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man just to make a point, okay?
Yep.
Cancer is the head. You see the head is in Cancer. That's where the mouth is, okay? That's why he eats honey, because the beehive cluster is where his head is. Lower on the wheel, okay, the body, the clothes are made out of camel hair, or camelopardalis, which is in Gemini. Okay, so you have the head and the upper body so far. Moving a little lower on the body, you get the midsection. You see where it's Taurus and I've drawn it to the midsection?
Yep.
Okay, so Taurus represents the bull and the female is the cow, which is where you get the leather. And regarding the belt, Orion's belt sits between Taurus and Gemini. So next would be the baptism. So how are we going to go from the beginning of Leo, which is where we were, okay, to the cross sign? You just basically go across, okay? Here we see how it makes from one firmament to another, okay? The man with the water pitcher is Aquarius, okay? It's important to note that the John the Baptist and Jesus are always exactly 6 months apart. And when you think about the fact that Jesus is born on December 25th and rises a degree a day, then that must mean that John the Baptist is born on June 24th and decrease a degree a day. This is why in John 3:30, John says, he must increase, but I must decrease. And also, if you don't think that's what that means, you can also know that St. John's Day is officially celebrated on June 24th. So that actually is exactly what it means. It's just encoded. So the next story is the temptation of Jesus. So we're at the Cancer Leo firmament right now, right? Okay, so basically he's tempted for 40 days. So just literally count 40 days. It takes you to September 2nd, which is right in the middle of Virgo. Okay, remember the bread?
Right, yeah.
Watch this. What does the devil say? Matthew 4:3. If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become loaves of bread. Here we see the mention of the bread, which tells you that the sun is in Virgo. Matthew 5:17 and 22. I did not come to abolish the law. And if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. This takes place in the first. So we were in Virgo, and now we're in the firmament of Virgo and Libra, so we can talk about Libra. Okay? Matthew 7:9, 10. If your children ask for a loaf of bread, do you give them a stone instead? So once again, it's in the firmament, so it goes back from Libra to Virgo. Matthew 7:15, 16. Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep. And can you pick grapes from the thorn bushes? Okay, those are the two phrases. Well, the sheep is Aries, and the grapes and the thorn bushes are Libra. Those are opposing signs. That's why they were mentioned. Okay, Matthew 13. Later that same day, Jesus left the house and sat beside the lake. So you just walk down the zodiac wheel from Libra until the barrier of Aquarius and Pisces. Okay, so like I said, you either move forward or you jump across. That's basically what it is. So its cross sign is the Leo Virgo firmament. That is Aquarius and Pisces. Okay, you got it. He sat beside the lake. The lake is a water sign, right? Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So as it's across from Virgo, the wheat stalk, the grains, isn't it ironic that the next parables are the wheat and the weeds, the mustard seed and the yeast? So we know that it crosses back over. Then it comes right back because it's the fishing net parable. And then you have Pisces, the two fish. Do you see how this whole thing works?
Yeah, it looks like there's a system at work, doesn't there? Some symbolical system that's sort of describing how you monitor what's going on in the heavens for obvious reasons, because at the time, you know, people were completely reliant on this information for survival.
Yep. This is hidden. So then Gemini is the sign of two men, technically twins. However, there's just a short mention of brothers in the next passage. He's just the carpenter's son, and we know Mary, his mother, and his brothers, James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. This ends at the firmament of Gemini Cancer, okay? How do we know this? Because the firmament of Gemini Cancer cuts into, if you follow it across, hits the firmament of Sagittarius Capricorn. That's December 21st. That's the day of death. Now watch what happens. The next story is the death of John the Baptist. So that's how you know that's what it does. We did that. This is the cross of God's Son. This is what it looks like. This is when you connect the solstices and the equinox. Okay?
Yeah.
So we were just in Virgo and now we're in Libra, which is law and wine and olives, remember? So what stories do we get now? The story of the temple tax, the unforgiven debtor, divorce and marriage, and the parable of the vineyard worker.
Wow.
So as you guys can see how this is encoded in plain sight. Then next, we were just in Libra. Next is Scorpio, the betrayer. This is the part where Judas betrays him with a kiss. And then here's where Jesus is crucified. So you go from Libra to Scorpio, and now you go into the firmament of Sagittarius. So it's those three signs in a row. He's betrayed, he's killed, and then he rises in Capricorn on the resurrection. And that is the book of Matthew. That's every line in the book of Matthew.
It's like a whistle stop tour around the
Bible,
the horoscope, isn't it? Oh, the what's it called? Not the horoscope.
The Zodiac.
Zodiac, yeah. Amazing.
So was that different? Was that different kind of astrotheology that you guys were used to?
Kind of. It's more related to the Bible, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the way, yeah, what you've shown is Bible heavy, isn't it? Which is fair enough. Right. Yeah, you must get a lot of pushback.
I don't.
Do you know?
No.
I get some trolls and haters, but like,
yeah,
I don't. I get more people that are like blown away by this.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking, you know, some people have so much invested in these gospels and these stories and whatever, and when you show evidence like this, I would have thought that it'll rock some people, you know.
Well, that's the idea. I'm hoping that some of your fans will reach out to me, want to see more information, or I'm going to read you one last slide, and then I'll get out of this screen share and come back and be with you guys. But so if you didn't hear about it before, do you agree now that there's astrology hidden in the Bible?
Yeah.
Right? So watch this. Roman Catholic Catechism 2116. This is your people, by the way, you guys. All forms of divination are to be rejected. Recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead, or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future. Consulting horoscopes, astrology, palm reading, interpretation of omens and lots, the phenomena of clairvoyance, and recourse to mediums all conceal a desire for power over time, history, and in the last analysis, other human beings, as well as a wish to conciliate hidden powers. They contradict the honor, respect, and loving fear that we owe to God alone. So we know that there's astrology in the Bible. They openly talk about it. The whole thing is pretty much hidden. And yet the Roman Catholic Church tells you that it's evil.
Heresy.
So it's a big cover-up then, basically. So it
Look,
was-
I'm just the guy from Long Island that just like decodes this with a very simple tool. You know, I can't be the only one that knows this.
yeah, but what is it not possible that it's kind of a mixing of sort of folklore and myth and legend and stuff that's kind of mixed into because there is some contemporary evidence that a guy called Jesus was alive, isn't there, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, there are texts from outside the Bible that reference characters from the Gospels, like Pontius Pilate, Mary Magdalene, John the Baptist.
Well, not all of
I
them.
think what Micah's saying is that it's all
Oh no, yeah, no,
fabricated.
no, that's what I mean. I mean, it's like an amalgam, isn't it? Of
Yeah, written over a number of years.
It's literally basically like if I were to write a fictionalized account of like something current these days, you know, you can use real characters. Like I use in the book, I use real characters, real places, real history.
Yeah.
You know, the storyline is fake, but the info is true.
Yeah.
It's no different with this.
Yeah.
I don't think Jesus ever existed. I think the evidence is too overwhelming that he's the son, just like everything else is. However, like Pontius Pilate, you know, they were mentions in the Bible of it. But, you know, they don't even mention the word cat in the Bible. So I don't even know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, does that mean cats don't exist?
Oh, the world would be a better place, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't say that.
I'm a dog person. You're a dirty pussy
Yeah,
lover,
mate.
aren't you?
I certainly am.
Why do you have to lower the tone?
Sorry. Why did you get into this, Micah?
Why? I came across Jordan Maxwell and Santos Bonocci, and they kind of blew my mind. So I studied them because it was like the answers that I was looking for. Nothing else really made sense to me until I started understanding some of this. Like 85% of that presentation is my own work. And I've done the book of Revelation, the book of Enoch, I've done the book of Job, I've done the book of Raziel, I've done so many books. They're the Secret Gnostic Gospel of John. You know, they all can be decoded the same way. You know, I gave you guys the tools. I told you what to look for.
Do you think you mentioned there the Apocrypha of John, Book of Enoch, and whatnot? Do you think maybe that those books were edited out of the canon because they were more overt?
I used to think it was because it was more, there was more astrology directly speaking of it instead of encoded. But now I don't know so much. I really have no idea why these books were left out. But I can tell you this, is that I could do a show with you guys on the Book of Enoch that would take up an hour. And I'll show you how it's the same thing. I'll decode it the same exact way.
You have to wonder why these, you know, it's quite interesting, like the formative years of Christianity, how these other sects were sort of persecuted, isn't it? Like the Gnostics that you mentioned. And, you know, what is the reasoning behind that?
Well, they made it literal in 325 AD.
Yeah. And that was pretty much the end of them. I mean,
there's people out there who literally think that there's going to be a pregnant woman in the sky and a dragon trying to eat her. And then you can explain it so easily, but they in their brain, when you explain it the way I did, their brain can't take it. They can't handle it.
Well, people have so much invested in these. Said it before, didn't I? In these stories, you see, they've been brought up maybe from birth, you know, depending on what religion your family were, that generally is what religion your children will be. And when you're sort of groomed is probably an inappropriate word, but when you're raised, in a tradition, then it's very hard, you know, if you get into your 40s or 50s and then to see someone like you break this down, I mean, it's that cognitive dissonance, isn't it? People won't want to believe.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I know. I think I have a hard time.
Can I ask you a question though? Is your T-shirt two raccoons having sex? I can't tell.
No, it's one raccoon.
Oh, the way it was like folded over, I couldn't tell. It looked like one was okay.
It's just Bert Raccoon. He might. No, he's not masturbating. No, it's just one raccoon not masturbating. Oh my word. You know, one of sort of the implications of what you've shown us tonight is the existence of God, isn't it? Does this make you, this research, seeing that all this information that's supposedly encoded is related to agriculture and star worship and whatever, does this mean that you
I think
are
that
a man of no
I
faith?
do believe in God. I don't believe my God is somewhere between living inside me and kind of like what Einstein says about Spinoza. Like God just created all this wonderful stuff, be happy. You know, I see the heavens as a clock that we're entombed by.
Right.
You know, I see that's our that's how we figure things out until we move forward. And if we ever had a cataclysmic event, like we had like a world nuclear war or something, figuring out the stars and what to do, when to plant, what to do, all that shit, that's first on the list. Finding God is not on that list. First thing is survival. First thing is knowing when the animals come out. You look at the you look at the sky, you see the bull, you learn the bull, you know to plant during the bull. You don't plant, you don't eat. All this shit is right there. It's all in there. And that's what they basically encoded in this in a way to keep from people. But when you decode it this way, it just makes so much more sense. I'm not using like apologetics, which is what you have to use in religion to explain how like a donkey talks in the Bible. Okay, that's something called apologetics. Okay, I don't use that. I use the zodiac and the constellations. They knew 48 constellations. We know 88 are now. They knew 48 constellations, including the 12 zodiac. That's all I'm using to decode this. That's it. And I'd like to think that I've made some sense onto you guys, at least, about it.
Do you know, one of the things that interests me, which I don't think you touched on in your presentation, is this precession of the equinoxes.
Yes.
The long count, the long calendar. Is this encoded as well?
Well, you got to think of it this way. Like real quick, I could tell you this, is that the Egyptians were the main prevalent people in the age of Taurus. I mean, you could see hieroglyphs with the bull and the sun between its horns. I mean, they don't even hide it. They tell you that they worship the sun. And then in Aries, you have the Jews who become the big people, and the Egyptians kind of fade away a little bit. And the Jews are the big people. And the Jews, they blow the ram's horn to the sky. You know, they have the lamb's blood. They have the shank bone on the Passover plate. We celebrate the Passover, all that stuff. And then they start to fade, don't they? Their numbers go down. And then the Christians come up in Pisces, and you have Jesus who feeds the masses with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. 2 fish, incidentally, is Pisces, and the 5 loaves of bread are the loaves of bread that's Virgo. Those are opposing signs, once again. Okay? So that's what he feeds them with. And that's why you have the Jesus fish on the car. It's the center of the Vesica Pisces. Okay? And you have all this stuff. And now we're in the age of Aquarius. And what's basically going to happen is if history repeats itself, which it's probably going to unless the shit comes out full force, and I probably sound like crazy when I say this, but I don't, is there's going to be a new religion in Aquarius. There's going to be, we're so early into it. We're only like 8 or 9 years into Aquarius that we can't even tell what it is. But the fact that we have like internet now where we can just talk overseas and everything, and everything is instant, everyone's got camera phones and everything, it'd be hard to start a new religion. So I personally think that the new religion is going to be merging with machines.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So I mean, that's talking the precession of the equinox, because you're going backwards in the signs.
Yeah, every 2000.
So that's basically my take on the last 4 zodiac signs.
So transhumanism,
Yeah.
I think might be the next big thing.
Absolutely.
Welcome, our robot overlords.
That's frightening. Yeah, I'm a bit wary of this. You see people volunteering to have like chip. What's that thing they had in their fingertips? Like magnets or something.
Oyster cards, I've seen. I know of people who've had Oyster card chips put in their hand. That's like a public transport pass in London that we have over here. So they don't have to have their card on them. They can just kind of swipe their body.
I would get that, but I would get it on my penis.
Right.
I'd have to whip it out every time to pay the toll.
I can see benefits there.
I mean, it seems like a foregone conclusion to me. Like, we have these devices which are always on our person. The next step is wearables. People are getting these watches, these fucking horrible things. The next step is just to stick it under the skin, isn't it? Why not? People will volunteer. People will be queuing up to have the Apple implant whenever it comes out.
Absolutely. Contact lenses.
Oh, fuck that. You can take contact lenses out. That's the thing.
Not if you glue them in.
No.
I was thinking, Mika, I wonder if there'll be, you know, how people who've been in wars and whatnot, and they maybe have run into an IED and they lose the legs, and people, they build these like exoskeleton legs for them. And I wonder if we're going to get to the point where they get so good at these prosthetics that sooner or later some guy's going to say, take off my legs, my perfectly good legs.
Yes.
I want the synthetic ones.
Absolutely.
Do you think that's coming?
Yeah. I'm not going to get into it too much right now, but have you ever heard of the transabled people?
No.
Have you ever heard of transabled?
No.
These are people who are completely fine, but they identify as disabled.
Oh my god!
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Interesting.
why?
I don't know. Some people do that. Like, these are people that like pour bleach into their own eyes because they want to be blind.
Oh shit! That's some serious
Some
psyche.
Yeah, good luck starting a religion with that.
Yeah.
I would say I can't see that catching on. I hope I'm right. Well,
Yeah.
well, Mika, we're rocking up to an hour already.
Wow.
Where's the best place for people to get your books?
You can go to Amazon, but in like our community that we're all part of, like the Twitter conspiracy community kind of thing that we're all basically a part of. I know that a lot of people don't want to go through Bezos and Amazon, and I'm fine with that. That's why I started selling signed autographed copies directly from me. So find me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Micah Dank.
Cool.
Just let me know where you heard me, and I'll send them directly to you. I send a ton overseas too. You know, I do send overseas as well. And I've got 4 out so far, and the 5th one's coming out in a month.
Nice.
Right. Well, we'll put all your social media links in the description. Have you a website as well? Or
I do. It's micahdank.com. There's a couple interviews on it. There's not really much going on there, though, but it's just like a nameplate.
No worries. Well, we'll put all the links in the description. If anyone wants to check out your work, Mika's work, please do. If you want more information, because, you know, we're just scratching the surface here in a quick.
We could do another one. Listen, you guys have my info. You know, reach out to me. Let me know. You want to do Enoch? You want to do Revelation? You want to do both? I'll show whatever you want.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll book something in. Right. Well, we'll close out this section of the show. Thanks for joining us, Mika. Don't forget to check out the links. Stay on the line for us for 2 minutes while we play ourselves out, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Don't touch that dial. Thanks for joining.
You.
Cheers.
away.